cactus and succulent growers, it's Lynn, and in today's video, this is going to be a little video about rooting epiphyllum cactus cuttings in water. And I'm going to show you an example, just potting one up as well. Now these were a few epiphyllum cuttings that I took sort of towards the end of the summertime. Some of these sort of fell off by accident when I was moving a lot of the epiphyllum plants, and this is one I actually took a cutting of because it needed a bit of pruning. So a little bit of odds and bods from the epiphyllum cacti. And those of you who are familiar with epiphyllum cacti, they're part of they're epiphytic cacti, so they're completely different to desert cacti, such as these type of cacti here. These are the leafy type of cacti, and they completely different care conditions as well to the desert cacti. They like a lot more humidity, and they like to be kept well watered, very well watered during the spring and summer months, can even take plenty of rain. I have a lot of my epiphytic cacti outside in the summer during the spring and summer months to get plenty of rain, and they produce the most awesome of magnificent gorgeous flowers. Just look at these photos, guys, of what the epiphyllum flowers can look like on epiphytic cacti. They are stunning, and I have quite a lot of different ones in my collection. Very easy to grow. They're also extremely cold hardy as well, the majority of them. They can overwinter cool and dry at 5 Celsius. 41 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter months. I have a lot of my, well, the majority, in fact nearly all of my epiphyllum cacti out in my polytunnel to overwinter. And I do sometimes have to give them a little bit of water, sometimes in the January time, sometimes February, but most of the time I just keep them practically dry in the winter. But because they are epiphytic cacti and they do like a little bit more moisture, although they can be kept dry over the winter, especially in cool temperatures, as I mentioned, they sometimes do need a wee bit of water, a little bit in the winter time, unlike the desert cacti that can be kept totally dry over the winter. Anyway, I've made a complete care video on how to care for and grow epiphyllum and other types of epiphytic cacti. So if you want to know more about these leafy wonders, then do check that video out. I'll link that video up above, and it'll also be down below in the video description as well. And I've also made a video on how to take cuttings and also how to prune, and a million and one videos on epiphyllums as well, so do check them out as well. I'll link the how to take cuttings video up above, and I've also done it in 3 series: how to prune epiphyllum and take cuttings, how to pot them up, and also when you know an epiphyllum cutting has taken root. Now you might say, why am I doing this in winter time? Obviously the best time to take cuttings, really, I would say the spring, but with epiphyllum they actually come into bud a lot earlier than the majority of the cacti do. Sometimes I'll start to get buds on my epiphyllum cacti from the late January, sort of early February time, and then by sort of April, May, June they're in full bloom. So if I was to take cuttings sort of in the springtime, they'd all be coming into bud, and it's not the right time to do it. But it's often the best time to get them to root. If you're taking cuttings in the springtime and you've got buds, I recommend just literally pinching the buds out. And the reason for that is because the energy is going to go into still producing the flower when you want to produce the roots. So anyway, I normally, as you'll see in them other videos, I normally would take cuttings, let the cut part callus for a few days, and then pot up in dry sort of epiphytic cactus soil. I'm going to show you what I use for my epiphytic cactus soil in a minute. And then I will give them a little light watering, and then they'll root quite readily. But because a lot of these fell off when I was bringing plants in, and some of them I just pruned back, I just put the cuttings aside literally for about 3 weeks, and then I put them into water. And they've been sitting in water now probably for about 2 months. I just haven't got round to potting them up. But the good news is, guys, they've rooted very well in water. I mean, look at that. I'll just show you. Look at them roots. It's probably in about 2 months, but they've actually started to send out roots within a couple of weeks. And I kept thinking I must pot them up, but I've been so busy with other things. So it's good to now time to pot these up a little bit. And look at the roots on that. This is just in water. So, you know, if you want to have a go at rooting epiphyllum in water, then do go ahead. Just, I would recommend when you take the cuttings, just let the cut end dry for about a week. The cut end is in the very end bit that you cut off. Let it dry for a couple of weeks. So let it dry for about a week, or a couple of weeks if it's a very large cutting. But a week is plenty. And then pot it into some fresh water. And remember to change the water every 3 days so the water doesn't go stagnant and cause the cutting to get mouldy and rot away. So that's all you have to do. And now time to pot them up. So I'm just going to mention here the soil that I've used. Now I use a very different soil than I would for my desert cacti. And here in this mix here, I've got a mixture of loam, John Innes number 2. And with the loam soil, it doesn't contain or very little peat anyway. And what I've probably used roughly, I haven't measured it out exactly, I've roughly used about 40% John Innes in here. And then I've used about 30% orchid soil. And you might think, why use orchid soil on epiphyllums? It's because epiphytic cacti can take orchid soil very well. And they're sort of like the same type of nutrients for producing flowers as well. So about 40% John Innes number 2, 30% of the orchid soil, which has also got a bit of orchid bark in it as well, and probably about 30% perlite in here. And I've just given it all a good mix about, and that means it's very well aerated with and well draining with the perlite, and also with the orchid soil, and also the John Innes as well. It's nice and rich for helping them grow as well. It's important. So you see, if I was using the desert, if I was potting up a desert cacti, I'd use a lot more grit. In fact, I haven't got any grit in here, just perlite. I would use grit, and I'd also use sand as well, because desert cacti like a totally different soil. But that's a whole different thing again. I've got many videos on how to make desert cactus soil on my channel. So that's the soil. And I'm just going to show you one example of potting up on here. I've got the little pot ready, and I'm going to pot all these up obviously, but rather than bore you with a whole entire video, I'm just going to take these out. I've got 2 cuttings in here. Separate these, obviously gently tease them apart. I've got a little tiny bit of roots on there. Might stick that back in the water actually to root a little bit longer. And this one has got a mass of awesome roots. Look at that, fantastic. So now I'm just going to get potting it up. So here we go. Get the soil in here. And I've got this lovely big, lovely chunky epiphyllum cutting. Look at that. Roots are just gorgeous. Rooted very well in the water. Just move this away. Back so you can see, and then gently put the soil all around. So I just thought I'd make this little video because these have rooted, and I thought I've got to pot them up anyway. It's a little video if you've got epiphyllum cacti and you want to know how to root them. And you can sort of take cuttings any time of year really. As I mentioned, spring is the most probably better to get them to root, but also it's the time when they're also coming into bud as well. So I've took cuttings in the dead of winter and stuck them in water, or even just stuck them in soil, and they've rooted. But do watch that video on how to take cuttings and all of that on my video. That's it. A little bit more of a top up. There we go. Happy days. Now, I don't know what type of epiphyllum this is. Most of these have sort of come off my mixed varieties of epiphyllums. This one is one that has a lovely big red flower, but it's not my Epiphyllum ackermani. It's one that I was given as the mother plant is one that I got as a cutting also from my friend in Dublin. So didn't have a name on this one, but it's happy I've got another one there. So happy days. And now I'm going to pot all these up, but not bore you. But just I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a video there. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. For lots more tips and tricks on how you can care for and grow many different types of cactus and succulents, then do check out all the videos on my channel. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day. Bye.